Good to go?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So starting off, do we have anyone here for public comments today? I don't see anyone from here, but
We do have a few logged in and called in online. So if you would like to leave a comment, please raise your hand and you can press *3 if you're called in, or at the bottom of your screen, there should be a raised hand icon. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone, so I think you can proceed.
okay. So I think we're just really here to talk about the business process today and the proposed revisions. So Kristen, can you put that up on the screen? I think the one that shows the
Yes.
revisions would probably be the most useful.
Yes, and for everyone listening online, I do have them all posted as well under the ethics webpage. Would you like me to show you the clean copy or one showing the track changes?
I think the track changes one is probably the most useful.
Okay, 1 second here. Okay, I believe this is it, and I don't know where you want to start.
I guess start with the first edit. Darcy and Barbara, do you guys have any thoughts about this? I think you might be on mute.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that edit. I think it makes sense. So it's the complaint receipt memorandum will be sent to the person filing the complaint and the elected official about who the complaint was made. Okay. Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, so on that first bullet number there, are we all okay with that first edit then?
Yep.
Hello, this is Chris. Barbara has been appearing on my screen as on mute since she got into the meeting. So I'm not sure that she's able to talk and be heard at this point. Kristen, can you deal with that issue if it is an issue, please?
Yes, I sent her a request. There she goes.
Thank you.
I had no issues with this revision. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I had unmuted before, but I don't know what happened after that.
All right.
Too far.
Okay, the second one, Darcy, Barbara, did you guys have any thoughts on that coming out of there?
It was fine with me.
Yeah, me as well.
Okay, I had trouble with this one personally because I don't really understand why the complaint isn't being provided to us. And I just thought maybe we could have a little discussion about the reasoning behind this. To me, I don't really see a way to rule, to hear and rule on the complaint without actually seeing the actual complaint. So Kristen or Christine, or do you guys have thoughts about this?
This is Kathleen. Can I talk about this one?
Yeah.
So I think the reason being is that it will still come to the commission during an executive session. As the next bullet point, it does say the HR director will conduct the initial review and determine if it falls within the ethics violation. And then at that point, it would come to the commission and have the discussion with the HR director of this is what was submitted, and this was my initial review, and this is how we are going to proceed moving forward. So you will still see it, it's just after the initial review.
Okay, so is that like in the other edits that you made then where it says you'll provide an overview of the complaint? Is that, could that maybe be better worded to say that you will provide the complaint and an overview of the complaint or something like that? What I want to make sure is that we're actually
Seeing-
writing what we're actually going to do so we can see the complaint. And
Right.
if you want to provide your overview with it and that, then that's good. But I just want to make sure that's not all we're getting is the overview.
I don't have any issue, and I don't know if Chris does, but yeah, the intention is to discuss the complaint in executive session, and in its entirety. So yeah, I don't have any concerns with that.
Yeah, this is Chris. I would suggest adding those words, will provide the complaint and whatever its summary or overview. But I would specify that the complaint be provided to the commission in addition to having it discussed in executive session.
All right, so Kristen, are you our editor at this point?
Yes, I am taking notes.
Okay, cool. All right. So then that moves us down into, I guess what on the screen right now looks like the fourth bullet point down, but I think it's more than that. I didn't have any problem with any of those edits, provided we're being provided with the complaint.
I agree.
I agree.
All right. Scroll down a little more. So there was one on this next to the last bullet point for me. I had a question where it says the HR director will provide the information submitted. I was just curious what that means about the information submitted.
Just give me
I don't,
a quick sec as I review it.
I don't see that on my screen, but maybe I'm looking in the wrong place.
It's kind of in the middle.
I-
Go ahead.
Second
Yes,
to
I
last
do-
bullet, yeah.
So I do think, so the HR director determines that the allegation provided do not fall within the definitions of ethics as defined by policy and or state law. The HR director will provide the information submitted. I would assume that that's probably going to be the complaint again. And the justification as to why the determination was it doesn't fall within the definition of ethics.
Okay.
I think it should say then the complaint. Rather than the
How
information
about,
submitted.
how about complaint and any other information that supports that decision or that recommendation?
I think that's a good idea because just the complaint would not show us what's been
Right.
submitted beyond that.
Exactly, I
So
agree.
It would be based on RCW, what's in the charter or in policy. We can
Right.
include that.
Okay, then I think for me anyway, going into section 5, it's just kind of the same thing as above to make sure that the complaint is being provided.
To the commission, you mean?
To the commission, yeah.
Right.
I think that's the second bullet point on this one. Or I guess here it could be in the third bullet point where it says overview. That's another place where we could pop in the complaint and an overview of the complaint.
What about the recommendation and the investigation report?
What about it?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything yet that specifically tells me exactly what information the commission gets here that's any different from any information it already has.
So further down in the bullets, it says upon conclusion of the investigation report will be provided to the HR director who will present the report to the Ethics Review Commission.
So what does this thing mean about the information submitted? Presumably the last bullet and the second to the last bullet don't mean exactly the same thing. If they did, one of them shouldn't be there. So what is the information submitted?
Which
Maybe all it needs is a memo in that second to the last. Or maybe that's where the
I'm not sure
investigation
what
report
bullet
should
point.
be.
What bullet point are you looking at, Chris?
The second to the last bullet point, the HR director will provide the information submitted and a memo. So what is the information submitted?
So the second to the last bullet under this item doesn't state that.
Oh, it
It's-
does. If
Chris,
the
you might need to
HR,
scroll down a little more to get to where Chris is looking.
Second to last bullet says the commission will hear and rule on the complaint in an open public meeting.
no, it doesn't actually. It
It's on the
says-
screen.
Okay, it's not on my screen.
It's under
But
5.
I'm looking, okay, this is 4. We're on 4 now, I think. And the second to the last bullet starts, if the HR director determines that the allegations provided do not fall within the definition of ethics as defined by policy and/or state law, the HR director will provide the information submitted and a memo to provide an explanation to the commission in executive session. And then at the end of it, the commission will hear and rule on the complaint during an open public meeting. It's this, in the first sentence, the words that were never edited, the information submitted. What is that?
I think that's what we're talking about, where it would be the information submitted would include the complaint and the policy or RCW that defines the ethics and the justification on why what part of that it does not fit. So I think that's what we just chatted about before they moved on to number 5.
Did they move on to number 5?
Yeah,
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. I'm kind of saying that from my point of view, as the advisor for the group, I don't understand what that means, and I couldn't tell whether that had
And I
been
think
complied
and I
with.
think we're editing that portion to say the report and then also supply the RCW or policy that identifies
Okay.
ethics.
Okay, thank you.
So that will be edited.
Sorry to be a holdup on that, but it just didn't make sense. Okay, I'm done.
So if Kristen's notes are reflecting what we're talking about, then I think the way this will change here on 4 is that at some point up above what's on my screen now, we'll get the complaint. And then we're also going to get this memo from the HR director.
Well, you're already supposed to get the complaint. So that can't be what the information submitted means. Has to mean something else.
Right.
But isn't it the supporting information
The
that,
information that supports the HR
Right.
director's recommendation.
Well, I kind of like what Kathleen said there, the RCW or the policy. Yeah.
Yes,
Just,
so what I was jotting down as everyone was discussing is what about maybe the supporting info, including the complaint and RCW and or policy?
we've already have the complaint. They already have that. So that doesn't need to be in here. What about the results of the investigation? Isn't there an investigation report which is provided to the HR director? Okay, and the HR director has already provided that to the commission. So, and then there's a conclusion memo.
but this is if the allegations do not fall within the ethics of the definitions of ethics, correct?
Right, right.
So is there an investigation report or is there a memo stating reason or rationale or whatever for why it does not fall within the definition of ethics?
So if you look if above that, it says upon conclusion of the investigation, this is when there's not, I think.
But that's if it is an ethics violation,
Oh,
right?
okay, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, so Darcy, you're correct. If it doesn't fall, if HR director determines it doesn't fall within, that's going to be a memo. If it does, then we're going to have an investigation report.
Right. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So if all there is a memo, then we don't need information submitted, right?
Chris is going to have the memo saying, based on the review, this complaint does not fall within the definition of ethics as described in RCW and or policy. So the RCW and policy will be attached to the memo, which is the additional information. But Kristen will clarify and take out additional information and just say like that it will have the memo with the supporting documents, RCW and or policy.
That sounds great.
Okay. Are we all on the same page then now on number 4?
Yes.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So back down to number 5. We talked about changing this the same as what we are changing number 4 to add that we're going to get the complaint somewhere up here at the start of the process. And then, Kristen, can you scroll down a little bit more? Okay, that's probably good. All right. And then these are really similar to what we just discussed, so they could be harmonized with the edits we suggested for 4.
That makes sense.
Okay. Barbara?
Yep.
Yep.
Makes sense to me.
Okay. Chris? Good?
Unless somebody brings up something I hadn't thought about, yes.
Okay, so far so good. Okay, the one thing I noticed that I thought was a little bit weird in this one was kind of a timing issue because, let's see now, what was I looking at? The second bullet point, the 7th bullet point. Oh, yeah, so here in the middle of my screen, there's a bullet point that says, if the investigation substantiates the allegations. Yeah, that one there. And the
I-
ethics.
Can I just suggest that instead of bullet points, we either have letters or numbers? I mean, because saying the third bullet point under number 4 is a little harder to go to than number 4, point A or point C.
I like
I
that.
so agree.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah,
as
no
well.
problem.
So on this one we're looking at now, what my confusion was this one says that whatever happens on this paragraph depends on whether we've ruled that an ethics violation has occurred. But we haven't, but the part that we're going to hear and rule on the complaint comes lower. So I wasn't sure if we needed to reinstate that one that was struck above in red about hearing and ruling on the complaint.
I think the reason where it says that the investigation determines that the allegations are not substantiated, the HR director will provide the information submitted and a memo explaining the recommendation to the commission. I think that's supposed to be in executive session. And then at that time, it will come out to the public meeting in which the commission will rule and hear, which is the next bullet point. So it's just supporting the same thing that as we get all the information that will be shared in executive session, and then any final hearing and ruling, the commission will do that in an open public meeting.
Okay.
So is the third
So
last
we can
bullets?
add an executive session on that bullet point, and then the next one
Yes.
is then that you'll hear and rule in the open public meeting. So you'll have that information beforehand.
Okay, so the idea then is that what's the second bullet point on my screen? Upon conclusion of the investigation report will be provided to the HR director. The HR director is going to present it to us in executive session, and then we're going to make some kind of ruling in executive session, right?
No, you don't. You'll get all the information. Any ruling would have to happen in the open public meeting.
Okay.
So where does it say that?
So it's the third bullet up. Kristen, could you highlight it really quick? If the investigation determines
Oh,
the
I'm seeing it. Okay.
allegations. So we'll add on their executive session. Because that information will be first shared in executive session. And then the following sentence or bullet then calls out that at that point, it'll come out public for your discussion for hearing and ruling on it.
Okay. I think I understand that, but I think I'm going to have to see it with all the revisions before I really get it. All right, so scroll a little bit more down. I think we have just a couple. Yeah. Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, I think I'm kind of puzzled by the same thing that was puzzling you, which
Okay.
is when does the commission hear and rule on the complaint to deny the outcome?
Right.
And if the commission hasn't ruled, then where does rule in if the investigation substantiates the allegation and the ethics Review Commission rules that it has occurred, when would they be doing this ruling?
After the information is presented to the commission in executive session.
So is that the commission will hear and rule on the complaint in an open public meeting?
Yes.
Well, maybe this one should go after that? I don't know. I think I am going to have to, for my own information, draw up some kind of flow chart. You know, if this happens, then the next thing is to explain the process here, because it is not eminently clear to me.
Yeah, so I guess there's a couple different ways we could take this from here. We could, if you guys wanted, I could take the clean copy that you sent and I could take another stab at another revision. Or if you guys want to try to, Kristen, on your end, put in what we talked about today and see if you can kind of clean up the flow on number 5. And then, you know, if possible, get that out quickly and maybe we could have another meeting really soon to try to get this thing finalized.
Yeah, I don't mind doing that. No.
Okay,
Just so you know, I am leaving tomorrow, and I'll be out of the country for 2 weeks, but I'll be back on the 22nd.
okay. Let's see. So that probably puts us getting back together about this in that week between Christmas and New Year's.
That's fine with me any of those days.
I'm good with that.
Anybody have a preference for the, I guess we're looking at the 26th through the 29th? They're all about the same to me.
Let's see.
I don't know if I necessarily need to be there, but I am out of the office the 26th.
How about the 28th?
That works for me.
Works for me.
And if you are okay with doing virtual only again, anytime is fine. Otherwise, I will have to check in with the in-person hearing room calendar and get back to you, but that's up to you.
Okay, doing it remote only.
Me too.
I agree.
Chris, is there a time on the 28th that works best for you?
Let me check. So we have staff meetings from approximately 11 to approximately 12:30. So probably something in the afternoon would be best.
That works for me. My day's wide open.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, me too.
Just for ease of keeping it the same as today, 1 o'clock?
That sounds good.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so Kristen's gonna send out a invite for the next meeting, I guess.
Yes, I will. And actually, and this was my mistake, I forgot to add approval of the last meeting minutes to the agenda. So I don't know, Chris, should we take care of that next time?
Yes.
Okay, that was my apologies.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Nope. All right, I guess we can adjourn then, and I'll see you guys all in a couple weeks, and have a great holiday.
Have a
Thank you.
wonderful holiday. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.